We are 15 months removed from the Kyle Rittenhouse trial and his full acquittal, but he's not done in a court of law, if you can believe this one. Kyle Rittenhouse will face wrongful death lawsuit filed by the father of one of the men he shot dead during Kenosha riots. Oh, one of the men that he shot dead after his alleged son, and I kind of know exactly who this is, smacked him upside the head with a skateboard, who, if you watch the Nick Rekieta interview with Kyle Rittenhouse, I didn't know this, and not very many people did as well. I don't know if he made it public. They definitely didn't play it up during the trial. Kyle has a permanent dent in the back of his head where he was hit by that skateboard. Anthony Huber was the guy who did that, and then given the fact that the mob was coming and he was more than willing to take another swing at Kyle's head. And if we're going to be completely honest, somebody swinging a skateboard at your head is assault with a deadly weapon. He was totally, and a jury of his peers found him to be acting completely within the confines of self-defense. It's just that standard is a little bit lower in a civil court, and because Kyle Rittenhouse is a name of some value, they can make a quick buck off that, apparently, allegedly. Oh Lord, I hate this, because Kyle did nothing wrong, and I will go to my grave believing that, because I watched the entire trial. I've seen all of the evidence. I did quite a few videos on said trial, and we have never seen, to this date, a more concrete case of perfect self-defense than what Kyle Rittenhouse did. Excellent trigger discipline. Nobody who needed to die, or rather, nobody outside of anybody who did die ended up dying as a result of a loosey-goosey trigger finger. Every shot that was fired was aimed at a person hell-bent on killing Kyle Rittenhouse. The world is a better place. I'll go ahead and make a bold statement. I don't even know if it's a bold statement at this point. The world is better off without Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber, and Gage Grosskreutz Bicep. No more kids are being diddled by Rosenbaum. No family members have to fear Anthony Huber, and nobody will be starting a revolution with one arm. Kyle Rittenhouse will face a wrongful death lawsuit from the father of one of the men he shot dead during the Kenosha riots, a judge has ruled. Who's this? It can't be Schrader. If it's Schrader, I'll be big sad on that one. The case was brought by John Huber. Oh, if you've seen, there were a couple of pre-trial hearings that were held over Zoom, and that fat bastard was tossed out of one of the Zoom calls because he was holding up different, pictures, different drawings, different messages to Kyle Rittenhouse. He had to be muted because of his emotional outbursts, so I totally understand that it's John Huber that is filing this, because that fat bastard has nothing better to do with his life than just weep over a dead commie who tried to string up his daughter, theoretically. And was that his mother or his mother-in-law that he also held a knife to the stomach of? I'm just for clarification's sake, who was fatally shot by Rittenhouse during the 2020. Look at this revisionist history on display. Like, that was a while back, and I remember when all of this stuff broke down. I think I did a video. That was like the third or fourth video that I ever did on the channel. I don't even think I had a face cam at that point in time. That was after Jason Blake. Whatever, old Wheels McGillicuddy out there in Kenosha got lit up by those officers, and then Kenosha for 2 consecutive nights ended up burning until somebody placed that Kyle Rittenhouse phone call, and then he decided to wrap himself in the flag and, like Clark Kent before him, arrive on the scene. If I'm going to accuse somebody else of rewriting history, I don't need to do it that much. A federal judge shut down a request from Rittenhouse's lawyers to dismiss the suit on Wednesday. It's like, this has already been adjudicated. It was self-defense. We have video of him hitting me in the back of the head. Where are the merits of this case? Now we're just going to go ahead and go through it because everybody's getting paid. Like, what are we doing here? This is the second most unlawful lawsuit that we've seen get put out there right now. And Tate's has definitely got this one beat. But let's see. A lawsuit, which was originally filed in 2021, claims that Rittenhouse conspired with police to target protesters who took to the streets following the shooting of Jacob Blake, not Jason Blake, whatever, still a criminal, in August of 2020. He was found not guilty of homicide at that trial. Yeah, exactly. But if you're hinging it on, Rittenhouse conspired with the police, what? If this gets televised, where's your proof on that one? Huber's lawsuit also alleges that officers violated his son's constitutional rights when they allowed the riots to erupt into violence, resulting in his death. Sir, the National Guard was there. Sir, there was a curfew at the time, so They were doing everything they could outside of being the ones to actually fire the shots themselves to begin with, but it's a bold strategy. I don't see it paying off, though. Well, maybe the city will. The city side of that, if you're suing them as well. Oh, there's Anthony Huber in all his glory without his trusty knife, I'm sure, or his trusty skateboard as well. Following the murder trial that gained international attention, Rittenhouse was cleared on all counts of his actions during the 2020 shooting. A round of applause for that. He was also charged with first-degree intentional homicide alongside several other counts for killing Huber, good for him, as well as Joseph, the little pedophile Rosenbaum, while also wounding Gage Grosskreutz. Yep, one shot, one vaporized bicep. Oh, the pink mist that's still fresh in my mind. Jurors deliberated for 4 days, which was buck-ass wild. Didn't see very many interviews of jurors after that one. Very strange. Okay, days before returning a verdict of not guilty on all 5 counts he faced. And Binger. There were more Binger interviews. That was the prosecutor, okay? The creepy little fucker with the Star Wars pins on his lapels. A very interesting email address, Flufferboy2004. Following the not guilty verdict, President Biden came under fire when he said he was angry and concerned by the result. Yeah, but then also during your campaign, alluding to the fact, or just alluding, trying to assert it as fact that Kyle Rittenhouse was somehow a part of a white supremacy conspiracy, because there are still people to this day. There was a story. I'm pretty sure it was told during the Rakeda Rittenhouse interview, where Kevin Hart had to be informed that Kyle Rittenhouse didn't shoot 3 black people. Kevin Hart, the comedian, Kevin Hart, the guy who sells out stadiums, who's in major motion pictures alongside The Rock, guy who looks like a child and everything, had to be informed that Kyle Rittenhouse didn't shoot 3 black people dead. The only way that any of these people could be black is under the Kanye West standard that Jews are actually the real blacks. Anyways, look at this fat bastard. Wrongful death lawsuit against Rittenhouse also alleges that Rittenhouse, alongside other armed counter-protesters, were subject to a different set of rules and were allowed to move about freely in areas controlled by law enforcement. No, I don't think that's... Okay, then I guess he's seen a different set of facts than everybody else did during the trial, but then again, he knows more than everybody else, okay? He thought that he could opine more on the legal merits of the case during those pretrial hearings on Zoom, but yeah, to each their own. Despite being a minor, unauthorized to carry a firearm, Are you going to bring back that discredited theory that he was bringing a firearm across state lines? There's an exception for minors. He was 17 years old at the time, to be carrying long-barreled rifles. That's the rifle that he had that night. The complaint claims, that's in his complaint? Bro, that was one of those charges that was originally applied to Rittenhouse during the charging documents. It got thrown out because the law doesn't apply to him, so good luck on that one. The suit further claims that authorities forced protesters into a confined area with hostile armed individuals. No. The rioters followed, chased, and cornered Rittenhouse, and then at that time, when little Jojo had his hand on the barrel of the firearm, at which point then Rittenhouse discharged his gun. So it wasn't the other way around. Like, maybe the fat has gotten to this guy's brain and he can't quite process facts anymore, and thus failed to protect protesters from violence perpetrated by the armed individuals. Is this guy becoming a rioter's rights advocate? Is that what we're seeing here? Well, I guess he doesn't have a son to look after. It's not like he was doing a good job then. Faced with a wrongful death lawsuit, Rittenhouse legal team filed motions to dismiss, which were rejected by U.S. District Judge Lynn Adelman on Wednesday. Of course it always is. The death by Anthony Huber could plausibly be regarded as having been proximately caused by the actions of a governmental defendant. What the? That makes no sense at all. Another bad judge ruling. However, Rittenhouse's attorney, I think Mark Richards, I'm representing him in this district as well. And during my opening statements, I won't have to drop a hard R this time around, though. Well, we respect the judge's decision. We do not believe that there's any evidence of a conspiracy. We are confident Just as a Kenosha jury found Kyle's actions that evening were not wrongful and were not undertaken. Oh, and were undertaken. Sorry, Judge, my mistake in self-defense. As the lawsuit can now proceed, and yo, that's an Indian-ass name right there. An attorney for Huber's parents said the family is one step closer to find justice in the son's needless death. Do you want the accent for this one? A Kenosha official that created a powder keg situation by their actions tried to claim that they cannot be held accountable for their unconstitutional conduct. Well, neither can the guy who ended up, dying in this situation. He was a rider that was there, and he superseded a curfew that was placed, and I don't know what to tell you, man. That argument was soundly rejected today. No, that was just a judge being, well, I don't quite know what to say, it's just a little bit wild, we should put it in front of the jury, huh? During a controversial 2021 trial, what was controversial about it? The facts said one thing, the media was trying to spin the other. So, well, I guess if you're on that side, that would make sense. Rittenhouse's attorneys argued before a judge that Anthony Huber had a violent criminal past, which included a string of offenses. Yes, like domestic abuse. Legitimate ones. Not ones where girls are just like, well, I felt like legitimate. On the record, string of offenses. They alleged that Huber had previously assaulted family members and threatened to gut his brother like a pig. Yeah, he served time for that. He was charged for that. Like, come on. Shocking revelation. Also alleged that Huber threatened to burn down the family house with all you fuckers in it. Yeah, no, he did all of this stuff, but he's the Goodman. He was unjustifiably killed after swinging that skateboard. I'm noticing a shocking lack of evidence here. Defense attorney Corey Sharafacy, guy who kind of looked like Hitman, if you were watching along at the time, you'd remember, argued the evidence would only be brought in front of the jury if the state attempted to push the notion that Huber was a hero. Yeah, they got real close. I think, was that a girlfriend, or is that his, oh no, it was his great aunt who came in and provided character witness, and she was getting real close to that stuff. And that was said during a sidebar. It's been a minute, but I seem to remember most of the facts in this one. She told the judge, Huber told his brother he would kill him, put a knife to his brother's stomach, saying he was going to gut him like a pig. Huber grabbed his brother by the neck, dug his nails in, and choked him approximately 10 seconds. What was all of this stuff over? Undone household chores. I'm a pretty big stickler when it comes to, cleanliness and organization. I've just never resulted to threatening to gut anybody if they weren't living up to my standards. That's just me, though, and therefore that's why I've never been finding myself in this type of predicament. He put the knife to his brother's left ear, and his brother felt it cut. He said, I'm going to burn down this house with all you fuckers in it. He'd say motherfuckers, but then it was just, that was cutting a little too close to home, the whole family dynamic that he had. One other occasion, he kicked his sister right in the hip, causing her to collapse. Goodman, a very good... Apparently his dad wasn't privy to that situation. Sharafacy stated, they're saying that this is a peaceful man. If you're saying that's peaceful, and this is the material we want to admit. Yes, this was all done during sidebar. Faced with these claims that being brought to light, the state backed away from the attempt to paint Huber as a hero, and it was just like, nah, he's the ninthman. He just had a skateboard. And there's Gage Grosskreutz, the last time that you'd ever see him with the full use of both of his arms. Oh, well. And just before he'd end up, trying to pull a gun and pointing it to Kyle's head. That was another fun point of the trial. But there you can see Huber right there in the foreground being shot in the chest. Oh, and there's his trusty little skateboard right there. Well, I'll leave that out of the details, of course. Yo, look at the way that they paint this. And thank God I've got a memory, and you guys do as well. Footage of the shooting posted on social media appeared to show Rittenhouse sitting on the ground. Yeah. After he got knocked to the ground, after he stumbled and collapsed after getting hit in the back of the head with a skateboard and opening fire. Yeah, on somebody who tried to cave his face in. Good old jump kick man. Another person who also has a criminal record, who the prosecution identified, and, well, less said about him the better, of course, before several protesters attempt to disarm him. Yes, like trying to lull him into a false sense of security, only to pull a firearm on him and then, well, end up with, well, no arm. As the teen stumbled backwards, a witness, Julio Rojas, 24, said two people jumped him and there was a struggle for control of his rifle. At that point during the struggle, they began to fire multiple rounds at his attackers, and that dispersed people near him. The rifle was being jerked around in directions while it was being fired. Yeah, it still managed to hit everybody it was aimed at, though. Kind of weird. But wouldn't you think somebody who was exercising self-defense after being attacked multiple different times by multiple different people, and then they were trying to disarm them, wouldn't you think that there would be a reasonable degree that your life could be in some sort of peril? No, of course not. So best of luck in your unlawful death lawsuit. You might get a payout from the state, and ultimately, at the end of the day, this is just a shakedown on Rittenhouse. So if it's obviously going to trial. If it's televised, I'll be watching because, like I said at the beginning, and I'll say it again for posterity's sake, Kyle Rittenhouse did absolutely nothing wrong. With all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.